Good morning. I'm here this morning to talk to you guys about the City of Ennis Charter. This charter is equivalent to the U.S. Constitution in importance. And there's two key functions in this charter that are to protect you and to protect our money. These two functions in our charter have not been put in place, and our leadership struggles to grasp them. Today, I'm going to do a little bit of education about what they are, what their function is, and why we must and we shall abide by them. These are not recommendations. This is the governing document that runs and operates our city and holds people accountable. This is the law of the land. Make your own decision, but just look at the truth. I'm going to go into section 310, Audit Committee. There's two articles I want to focus on today, Article A and Article B. And there's two reasons why these go into place. Article A is when you have someone throughout the year maybe do an investigation and come back and see that police aren't getting the funding they need, that they didn't have enough resources to do their job, they didn't have the training they need. This is when you would act Article A. And it says, the commission shall have the power to appoint a committee or some suitable person or persons to examine into the affairs of the city and any financial department therein at such time or times as that shall deem necessary. This gives them the power to say, hey, our police department is defunded. What's going on? We need to appoint an audit committee to dig into this for us. Article B, the second section. This is the beginning of the year, the first meeting when the city is to appoint this committee so that they can work with the firm they hire to make sure this whole process goes smoothly, so that there's people from the city that have a vested interest in making sure that this isn't just done from a mathematical standpoint, this is done from an ethical standpoint. And here's what Article B says. The commission shall, upon the first regular meeting in January of each year, appoint a committee of 3 persons, who shall be styled Auditing Committee, to examine and audit all expenditures and funds paid by the commission or any of its officers. I have gone on record for the past 2 years and asked the city commission, the mayor, to appoint this committee. They've ignored me and they haven't done it. You make the decision if you want an audit committee or not. I'm going to leave that to you guys. The second part of our city charter that is important and is not being followed is Article D. And this is the most important. I cannot stress how important this is. If on the state level you have large amounts of people voting on issues. So if you have a conflict of interest and there's 100, 200 people voting on an issue, if a few people recuse themselves and fill out an affidavit stating such, then it's not a big deal. But when you have 7 people voting on an issue and 1 person, 2 persons, even sometimes 3 persons recuse themselves from voting because they have an interest or a conflict, it's a problem. And I wholeheartedly believe that in 2016, when this was revamped and redone, and Angie and other commission members, along with attorneys that really know what they're doing, they left this language in here to protect you, to protect our money, because they know that you shouldn't be on a board and have a pecuniary interest. It's just common sense. And I want to read this to you. Article D. An officer, agent, or employee of the City of Venice, or appointee of the City Commission, or appointee of any officer of said city shall not have a pecuniary interest, directly or indirectly, in any contract led by the said city or the commission, or for and on behalf of said city, or by the trustees of the public free schools therein, nor in any manner be interested, directly or indirectly, in any officer, agent, or employee of said city, wherein the rights or liberties of said city are or may be involved. Nor shall any public work or improvement let, supervised, or controlled by said city, or which shall be paid for wholly or in part by said city, and any violation of this section shall be cause for removal from office of such offending officer, agent, or employee. You'll notice conflict of interest is never mentioned in here. Being able to be on a board and recuse yourself through an affidavit is never mentioned in here. Because they understood when they wrote this language, and we understood when we voted and approved, that this is two totally separate things. On the state level, you can have a conflict when there's hundreds of people voting and remove yourself. But when you have 7, the same logic does not apply. And we knew that. She knew that. You make a decision, but it says you cannot have a pecuniary interest, directly or indirectly. You can't do it. And I want to tell you, this isn't something that it was just, hey, this is a one-time instance. This is 17 times in 4 years that 2 people, one the mayor, that is the leader of our city, the other the president of the Economic Development Corporation, who is the leader of economic growth, has had conflicts of interest. Some pecuniary conflicts of interest. Here's an example. "50% ownership of a building located at 200 West Knox." I wish that this wasn't the case. I wish that when I brought this to their attention, that we would have stopped. We would have said, "You're right. We misinterpreted the law. We thought that we could be in accordance with the state law, and we were okay." But it wasn't. Their answer, their rebuttal is, "Oh, we need to change the law." And that's an option. If they want to change the law to where it states that they can have a conflict of interest and recuse themselves, then the people of Venice, we can vote on that issue and we can decide that issue. But right now, as our law stands, you just can't have a pecuniary interest in anything and sit on a board. And This wasn't Angie as mayor signing some of these. These are Angie as a board member of the CDC, of the EDC, Economic Development Corporation. Her approving deals that in the weeks to come, I'm going to go through this deal. And anyone who is in finance that understands that we're taking, the point of the Economic Development Corporation is to take our tax money and invest that tax money to generate a return on that tax money. So on the back end, we can lower our other taxes. The whole idea behind this is let's bring in businesses that are going to generate a whole bunch of sales tax revenue and that are going to lessen our burden on taxes. Let's let people from Waxahachie, the surrounding areas, even Dallas come down, Corsicana, and let's let them spend their money in our city. Let's do such a good job at creating such a place that people want to come to, that they come and they spend money here. There's 17 times where this has occurred, and we just got to be better. And I wholeheartedly believe that in the weeks to come, when you see some of these grants, these aren't grants that were given to Chick-fil-A, to some of the business you've seen on the highways. Don't get me wrong, the Buc-ee's deal was a great deal. The people of Ennis are going to reap that reward for a long time. But these are grants surrounding properties where people had a pecuniary interest that I think the facts are going to tell you that these were terrible investments. These are investments where we're generating zero to very little sales tax revenue. These are rental properties. These are office buildings. These are law offices. There's not a whole lot of tax revenue running through them. Places like Finn McCool's that we could have said, hey, we're going to, you know what, what's your rent for the rest of the year? We're going to give a grant out so that your rent is covered and you can come back in 2021 because you're generating $80,000 a month in sales tax revenue. Almost $1 million a year in sales are going through. And that's generating sales tax revenue. Let me restate. They're not generating $80,000 a year in sales tax revenue. They're generating $80,000 a month in sales revenue. Compared to office buildings that are rent. A whole lot of sales tax revenue is not being generated from those projects. And this is the truth. And if you're expecting for Angie or anyone involved in this to come out and say, you're right, we were wrong, we weren't abiding by the law, we should have done this differently, that's not going to happen. They're just not going to do it. And the friends aren't going to condemn it. And this is the most important election in the city of Ennis history, is when we say, you got to come out. You have to vote. I'm banking on the 1,000 people that voted for Angie are probably going to vote for her. I'm talking to the other 19,000 people that live in Ennis, Texas, to register and vote. Right now there's 9,500-ish people registered to vote in Ennis. The rest of us have to get registered, and we have to come out, and we just have to say, we don't want our leadership having 17 conflicts of interest in 4 years. We just don't want that. It's not good for business. People that know what they're doing, large companies that create jobs, that create growth, aren't going to come into Ennis and say, hey, this is a sustainable model. They're just not going to do it. And we can be better. We can do better. And we're going to do it. And I wholeheartedly believe that you're going to show up and you're going to vote. And you're going to let them know that you're not making money with our money anymore. Whether it's directly or indirectly. It's not happening. I'll see you guys soon.